So still working on doing backgrounds, different colouring backgrounds, and using things like twigs to remove some of the ink as mark making tool, and then doing a ghost print from it, which is what we have here. Also doing multicoloured backgrounds on the plate, and again using twigs and things as mark making tools to remove the ink and then take the print. So what I'm doing here, I have some yellow ink on a plate already, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll out this a little bit more. And I'm also going to do sort of a little bit of layering with another colour on top. What I found with this yellow is that it's extremely bright, and although it's nice to have a small amount of it coming through, I find it a little bit too intense for my taste. So I've calmed it down a little bit with some green, and I'm also going to add some of my sort of slightly rose red. I'm adding a little bit more to the plate. Rolling it up to get the right texture on my small 2-inch roller. Now, what I have at the moment on it is quite a sharp line between the colours, and I want to actually smooth that out a little bit. I don't want it quite as exact as that. And I'm also going to put a little bit of marking into it. So what I've produced here is quite a multicoloured background, and I think for balance it might need just a little bit more red. And that's what I'm going for. Now there's quite a lot going on in this plate, so I really don't think it needs a huge amount of mark making to make it interesting. What we've discovered is that the netting is quite effective, but we need to be careful with it because it can leave quite a big kind of clump of white if we're not careful. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use just a little bit of netting, but I'm going to use it as a mark making tool. I'm not going to leave it as a layer within when I'm taking the print. So I'm just pressing down with my fingers, and what I want to do with this is get it to lift some of the ink. And I can see there that it has actually lifted some of it. Now what I'd like to do is I'd like to get just a little bit more sort of delicate marking. And this worked quite effectively for some previous prints. So I'm just going to press it down. I'm pressing each individual little twig with my fingers. My fingers are also going to remove some of the ink, and that's fine. I actually quite like the idea that there are fingerprints. My fingerprints are actually going into some of my prints. It's a nice idea. So again, it's been used as a mark making tool, removing ink. Clean surface to take my print off. And I have some slightly different paper to print on. Slightly off-white. And hopefully it will take the ink well. I'm just using a 4-inch. So again, when you're taking your print, roll horizontally and vertically. I sometimes find it easier to stand. I'm less likely to let the paper move if I do that. And here's our print. Also going to take what's called a ghost print. So get a little bit of ink on that. So I place my clean sheet over it. I have a little bit of ink on the back of it, but that's okay. The ghost print is normally worth taking. You learn a lot from them, even if the print itself does not turn out to be a good piece in its own right. So it's what you're left with after you have taken your initial print. And I'm assuming that's why it gets called ghost print. It's what remains. And there it is. And in the spirit of not wasting inks, what I'm going to do is just roll out. I have red on a plate here, so I'm just going to roll it out as a background with some of the other colours that we used. The green. And a little bit of the yellow. And possibly look at some slightly different mark making tools. These are actually printer's blocks from an old newspaper that shut down. There's just really interesting shapes in them. That's one kind of like a tile mark maker you could use. Or I have some dried grass, which I think I might actually use for this one. So I'm just going to spread it out a little bit. And again, I'm going to push down with my fingers. So this is very much background plating. We're not doing so much layering today. And one of the reasons is a lot of the mark making tools I have today are quite deep. And when we're doing hand rolling, it can be difficult to get the details captured from a hand roll. You really need to put that through the etching press. So that's why I'm sticking primarily to using these as mark making tools. If I was using the printing press, what I could do is actually put some colour on the fern, the grass. Sorry, this is grass, not fern, and leave the ink side face up, and that would give me a different coloured layer against that multicoloured background. But as I say, this time I'm using it as a mark making tool. I'm using it to remove ink, hopefully, from the plate and allow me to print the shape of it. So let's see if that has worked. When I hold it up, I can see what the print is going to. Put a clean sheet underneath the print. I'm using a little bit of that slightly darker cartridge paper again. Which is curled a little bit on me because it's slightly messy. Now, again, we have no 3D layer underneath, so I can just roll it apart. And here we go. Thanks for spending time with me again today. I'd like to share some work of my own and of the group of fellow-minded print mark making artists I mentioned to you in some previous sessions. We have been meeting via Zoom on Friday afternoons. We're taking a break for the summer months, but we will be back together again later in the year by Zoom or in real life or both. If you're interested, please don't hesitate to contact me. My details are on my card. Thank you very much again.